a really interesting question. And the first answer that came to mind, 2 words, huge org. That was the first thing I wrote down. And because KP is such a huge organization, people are intimidated to become a part of it, first and foremost, because in a huge org, it's only natural that people will gravitate towards each other, henceforth creating cliques. I understand that cliques are natural and a part of life. It all started in adolescence. We'll continue that for the rest of our lives. But pretty much, I think that I don't see a concerted effort to break down those cliques. I think there's a lot of exclusivity and a lot of just hidden, unspoken personal agendas that foster in cliques, and that's one reason why people aren't comfortable in it. Another reason in this huge organization is that people have different needs, and that's where things start dividing furthermore. For example, Kamalayan Collective, Kaba and those groups of students were within KP, and they saw that their needs weren't being addressed. And so when they broke off from the org, they're like, okay, we're going to focus on what we want because that's not being addressed within KP. And so I think people are intimidated to join and stay in KP because we're just really big, and there's not a lot of effort to address those different needs because we're either just focusing on one thing and not the needs of the other stuff. For example, for people that are just intrigued in politics or in the political things, the things that are progressive, if that stuff isn't being addressed, then those people will feel out of place. So if there's people that are more in tune with their questioning, processing sides, then that's not being addressed. And also there's the issue of cliques. I don't think that we do enough to foster inclusion, and I will touch on that later.
Okay, so I guess I would have to agree with Angie about why are people intimidated to join SAMS and KP. I think at first that was one thing I was kind of intimidated to join the space because from what I saw from the outside looking in, as a first year I was like, wow, this is a really loud, cliquey org. Where am I going to find myself in the space? Maybe I don't want to do PCC. That's kind of weird, but like maybe I don't want to do PCC, or maybe I don't want to like do those things. However, and I think that's something we need to change for next year. We're addressing that now. Why are we intimidated? So if it's loud and cliquey people, sometimes that may not be solved easily. But there are so many other outlets for other people in this space, like smaller things that they can do. Or we can even redirect them to Kamalayan and Kaba for people who have different needs in this space. KP kind of goes on this foundation of space, which is social, political, academic, cultural experience. And I think, it's really hard, but I think our focus is to make sure there's that balance. And I know that's really hard. And I think all those aspects that make KP they intersect. There's this intersectionality. So like with one comes the other. And I think if we just make sure that we're doing everything, that we're doing the best we can to create this space, I think people won't necessarily be as intimidated to join or to stay in KP. For me, there are those few people that outreach, and they're like, hey, there's PCC, there's high school conference. They kind of opened my eyes to all every single direction that KP can go, towards. And I think if we have more of those people in this space, people won't necessarily be as intimidated to join or stay.
I'm not gonna lie, I was intimidated / still feel a little intimidated by KP because it's really big, but that's one of the reasons why I'm running for chair, is because I'm pretty sure that I'm not alone in that feeling. I'm sure that actually I'm not sure. I know, because I've talked to other people that share the same sentiment of feeling unwelcome or feeling the fragmentation of the organization, and so they feel really disenchanted to get involved, etc., etc. So what would I do? Well, first off, I personally will emphasize as a chair that it's not just about KP, it's about community. I remember during the first set of debates, Mo kept emphasizing how we're a collective, we're a community, and that's just a really beautiful ideal to me, and that's something that I would really like to emphasize to board and to the organization. As a board, I would entertain the idea of having class reps. I think class reps are the liaisons that are fabulous because they get to really talk with the people in their class. If there are transfer students or commuter students that don't really get to come out as much because of their traveling needs, then I think class reps have a lot of leverage in that sense. And so, they don't necessarily have to become board members, but they could be like ex officio members or something like that, and to really maintain that effort to reach out to them. I think people could be more invested in KP if they found something that they were invested in and interested in. And so that being said, I would want to adjust things that people are interested in, things that people are being affected by. And how would I gauge that? Random surveys, phone calls, conversations, one-on-ones, to really get to know the people, and so that it's not just all in my head of what I'm perceiving or what the board is perceiving.
Okay, so I think KP, I think for me, I just want to share my own personal experience, because I was intimidated to join this space in the beginning. I was actually anti-KP, which is funny how I ended up here today. So, and I think a big reason for why I stayed in this space is, because we had buddy systems, and I think, I had Prince and Jessica. We were like buddy systems, and that's what made me stay. And I think I don't necessarily want to implement a buddy system, but I think there's always that one friend. Just as long as you have that one friend, it won't necessarily feel as intimidating to stay in this space. And I kind of want to touch upon, because chair doesn't necessarily have a really big event to plan. Like what I had said before is I kind of want to be that person who, constantly has check-ins with people. And not just board members, but, even like planners, or I just want to be there, if you're having a hard time in the space, I want to be that support system for, what can we do as an organization to help you, I guess, I don't know, fix it in a sense. What can I do for you? And that's one of the 3 platforms that I'm standing on is, I want to be that support system. I want to be that person you can always have check-ins with. I want to be that helping hand. Even if you need, text messages, hey, I'm down to text, I get free text. Text me or call me. I love phone calls. I just want to make sure that, people aren't necessarily, not in touch with the space that they want to be in touch with. Because each and every person in this community has potential to go very far. And it's just a matter, sometimes it's just a matter of that one person making sure that leadership grows. And if that's me, because, I don't necessarily have those events to plan, then by all means, let that person be me. I want to be that person to help you. That's all I have to say about that.